Hey guys, what's up? It's Lizzy Jane. We are back to doing podcasts remotely. And this week we have a wonderful guest, Atlanta local, Kevin Flum, also known as Drink Your Water. He is a phenomenal producer. He's had releases on Subsidia and more. He has a lot of new music coming soon with his rap project as Kevin Flum. He has millions of streams across all platforms worldwide. So I was super appreciative to have the chance to sit down with him. We are both playing at Imagine Music Festival at the end of this month. It is my first time at Imagine, so I'm so excited. As he is an Atlanta local, it is a hometown festival for him. So I'm super stoked to be able to see him. Don't forget that next week we have our 100th episode of EXO Radio. That is my mix series that I have on SoundCloud and Audius. We have Ace Order doing a special guest mix. He just had his debut EP on Never Say Die, has had tons of releases on Monster Cat, Disciple, any label out there, you name it, he's released. So really awesome to have Eric on, especially after we did the in-person podcast at Forbidden Kingdom. Our next series of live podcasts is coming very soon, going to be really exciting. So right now I'm enjoying doing the longer, more remote ones. I had Naughty Step on last week, and we have Afterthought, Carbon, and Jason Leach up next, as well as a handful of industry professionals, as well as YouTube channel music commentators coming on very soon. So thank you guys so much for everyone who continues to tune into the podcast. It means the world. I love doing this. I love talking. So it's really cool to have these like transparent conversations in which we can talk about the industry and their lifestyle and just advice for up and coming producers or industry, professionals, how to get onto this back end of, the electronic dance music scene. So thank you guys very much. Don't forget, you get to hear these a day early, ad free on my Patreon. Link below, check it out. I just opened up more spots for one-on-one lessons, brand mentorship, and much more. There's fan tiers as well, where you can get sample packs, CRM presets, Zoom chats, live streams, so much. Go check it out. Link below. Without further ado, this is Lizzy Jane, and you're tuning into the EXO podcast.
Oh, how's it going?
It's going. I just finished a little meeting with the agents, and we're kicking along. And now I've got a podcast with you, and then I have a podcast with Afterthought tomorrow, which will be a lot. Yeah, which will be a lot of fun. So thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I've been wanting to get on it for a minute now. So
hell yeah, I know. It's crazy. We've kind of seen each other kind of like grow in our different regions because you're from Atlanta, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, sweet. And like for those listening really quick, can you just introduce yourself, kind of give you a brief background, not only on your DJ project and your production project, Drink Your Water, but also as Kevin Flum, rapper, musician?
Absolutely. So yeah, my name's Kevin Flum. Originally born in Germany, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. I do hip hop, rap, songwriter, all that stuff. And then I also have a side project, Drink Your Water. I do bass music, anything really, just, trappy, dubby, just trying to keep my own little thing going on here. So I just separated the two projects because it was getting a little confusing, and my original like hip hop fans weren't really understanding what I was trying to do with that. So that's why I branched out and made a separate project, so I could kind of just like have two lanes to try and keep myself in. So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for like coming on today. You've always been one of those people that have kind of stayed in their own lane. And when I kind of came across who you were, I remember looking you up on like YouTube or some shit. And I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, he can fucking rap. Like he can like write really, really well. And that's a thing that I think, we'll get kind of into this in a few minutes, but it's a thing that when you're a musician and you're an artist, a lot of people don't realize how much of a skill set you have when you can apply yourself to like different genres, different lanes, even going into like other industries and doing audio work and all of that stuff. So it's cool to see someone, doing a different thing, kind of like what I'm doing with the podcast. Like you also have like your rap career, and that really kind of platformed you into being able to have a following already, even though it wasn't a direct following, but already a demographic in music that's following what you're doing to start your dubstep trap project.
Yep.
So I had no idea you were from Germany. That's fucking crazy. So what brought you to the States?
So my father, he was in the military at the time, and the base we were living on in Germany that I'd lived at for most of my life was closing down. I guess they were kind of like shifting the American soldiers back towards the States because their work was like done in the region we were in Germany. So they kind of just like stamped us to go to South Carolina. It was kind of like not our choice. They kind of just told us that's where we were going to go. So in 2009, that's when we moved over to South Carolina, and my dad kind of finished out his military career at Fort Jackson. And then once I got done with high school and everything, that's what made me shift over to Atlanta because I was trying to take music a little more serious. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it was really just military thing. That's why.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah,
My dad was originally in the Air Force, and
okay.
if he had not gotten injured, I would have been born in Austria. So kind of a similar
Oh no way.
situation. Yeah,
Sick.
because that's what he would have been where he was kind of located. So, but then all that happened, and then I arrived. But yeah, I have quite a few friends who are in military families, and it's definitely a culture within itself to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of grow up around. Just it's a different way of life. It's a different way of being raised, different discipline. But some of the most disciplined people I know, even if they haven't enlisted or been in the military, come from military families. It's
Yep.
definitely a ground to stand on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Tell you one thing: if you were born or raised or around any type of military family your whole life, you won't be late to anything, like
Yeah.
ever.
Ever.
That's one
Oh
good thing about
gosh.
it. So
Yeah, no, that's it. I'm in the position where I'm like I'm late to everything unless I'm going on stage. If I'm going on stage, I will be there 3 hours early, ready to go. Anything else, dinner, date, whatever, I'm like, just count me out 30 minutes and then I'll be there and then I'll be there. But so like I just want to we've really like talked in passing before, and we have a lot of the same like mutual friends. It's cool because we're kind of in that same market where you kind of fuck with a lot of the Florida like locals, and we kind of all came up at the same time. But how did you get interested in like electronic dance music from your origins, which is like rap music? Like how did you even get into becoming kind of a creative standhold of a person coming from a military family?
okay, so the main family that I was around my whole life was my mom's side, which is pure German. Like I was raised straight up German my whole life. So in Germany and like Europe itself, dance music itself has always been such a huge thing there. So like I grew up listening to lots of trance and hard style and like different kind of like weird whatever it was back then. Like I was listening to a lot of like old school show tech, like when they were making really hard style type stuff. And like I just always really enjoyed that kind of stuff, but never really knew the potential of what it could blossom into one day. So I kind of just once I started getting like lots of big features as Kevin Flum on like EDM type songs, like I did a few, I did that one with Say My Name. I actually ended up doing one with Showtek and Yellow Claw, but it never came out. So I was doing a bunch of features for people, and then that was like my way, like, well, maybe if I can like continue doing that, I could, use that as a bridge to get into the EDM scene and kind of see like what I could do with it. And I always just had that
Mhm.
want to produce stuff because I was going to festivals and I was just seeing everything. I was like, wow, I really want to be a part of this culture because the culture is just so sick. And I just loved the scene and I loved everything about it. So, it's just, I don't know what clicked for me that I wanted to do it, but it was just there's just one turning point where I was like, no, this is it. Like I have to get into this. So as I said before, I didn't have the two projects. I was doing stuff under Kevin Flum, like as EDM and stuff. And my rap fans were not understanding what I was doing. They're like, yo, like, what are you, a DJ? Or are you a rapper now? So that's kind of like why I branched myself into it separately. Cause I just, if you love something and you want it bad enough, you're gonna go do it. So I was like, I'm gonna do this. And
Absolutely.
so that's It's really what it was. It was just this undenying love for dance music and the culture of it, and just wanted to put myself into it. So I did.
No, I love it. And it's like, and I see that kind of progression with a lot of vocalists and rappers as well, because sometimes people don't understand that you're like also producing if you like have the feature or if you're whatever. So it's good to make that kind of differentiation of like, hey, this is like my production name, and you can obviously still do stuff as Kevin Flum and you still have this rap career. But I like, as someone who started as a vocalist and then like got into production, found
Mhm.
it like so frustrating. And I talked to like colleagues and, you know, other vocalists and rappers and stuff, and they're just like, dude, we like made half the song, but people don't get it. Like the general consumer doesn't make that connection sometimes.
Of
And it's
course.
also like very difficult to bridge the gap between something such as rap music, kind of that underground culture, and
Mhm.
then EDM, where I
Right.
feel like a lot of people in electronic music are super accepting of people doing you know, or they're starting to be more accepting of people doing multi-genre faceted music. I
Yep.
think when you get into more of those direct genres like pop music or metal or rap, it's kind of like, this is your lane, you stick to it. And the adversaries there that you probably had to like overcome, those obstacles, I'm sure were like really difficult at times when you were trying to figure out exactly what you wanted to do.
Mhm. Especially because like the whole rap culture and the rap scene, like most of them don't even know about what EDM truly is. Like they have this small-minded way of thinking like, oh, it's just like music with no words, or it's just beat boot music. Like it's just like that. So that's you hit it on the head with that one. Like it's just they don't understand it. And it was, oh man, it's just two different worlds. It's insane. So,
And I can't imagine like living in Atlanta. Tell me about Atlanta, because Atlanta's like the hub for that kind of music.
it really is. Yeah, Atlanta is crazy. Obviously, like some of the biggest names in rap that are on top and have been on top come out of Atlanta and are still in Atlanta doing it. So, that was another like good move for me. I really moved to Atlanta because I was starting to get booked a lot with Iris Presents, which is like the main company who does
Mhm.
Imagine stuff. See you would imagine. By the way, I'm
I
super stoked.
know.
I'm so stoked you're on that.
I
Um,
was very excited. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be the first time I play in Atlanta, so
yeah.
I'm stoked. But yeah, they've been around forever,
They've been
really.
they've been doing it for a long, like 10 plus years easy. And then, I started getting a few gigs through them while I still lived in South Carolina. So, I really was just like, well, I need to move down here if I want to keep getting booked with them and blah, 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 and all that. And I was like, plus the rap side, it could be good too. I just didn't
Mhm.
have any connects for any hip hop stuff down here. It was all like dance music oriented. So, but yeah, no, I've linked up with some really cool producers that are from down here, and a lot of producer homies that are like killing it on other parts of the country. They always come to Atlanta to work, so it's always like you said, it's a huge hub for the rap culture. So it's like super easy to link up with people because people are always coming in and out of the city, and so many dope studios. And yeah, the culture here is insane. I wouldn't trade. I don't think I could see myself living anywhere else for a while, just because it's all what I need is here. So it's pretty dope. Like I can't complain.
That's awesome. I've heard there's like such an awesome scene there, and it's such a creative hub, like not only for music but also for film. Some of the biggest, like the just film in general, and the creative outlet there is absolutely insane. And I
Yep.
just look from like my outer point of view, seeing like the stadium filled for Kanye's listening party and stuff like that. That is wild. I just can't imagine that happening somewhere like Tampa or somewhere like Orlando, you
I
know?
feel it. No, it's absolutely insane. And yeah, like you said, the film industry here is insane. Like Tyler Perry has his all his studios are here. Like they film all the Marvel movies here, so it's just popping. It's always popping here.
Wild. No, I'm very excited, and I went to Imagine when I was 18, and I'm excited to be back. I know this year you've played Imagine before, right? Last year or the year before because of COVID.
Yeah, I played 2017 on a side stage, and then I played 18 and 19 on main stage, and then obviously COVID happened. But then this year we're coming back on main stage again. I think you're on main stage too, right?
Yeah, I
Amazing,
had no
amazing,
idea until like last week. And I was like,
amazing.
shit, this is gonna
Yeah,
be a lot of fun,
no,
because
they killed it.
they put on for the local talent too. Because when we got the offer last second, I was like, wow, this is kind of last second. And I expected it just to be a little bout of kind of more regional southeast artists. And then when they announced the additional lineup, I was like, dude, I was like, they did their research. Like they put a lot of people on and like a lot of hardworking people too. I remember when Mikey Plasma went through a phase where he was like, I just want to be in Atlanta. I just want to be at Kevin's house all the time and be in Atlanta.
That's
And
my
I was
boy.
just like, yeah. No, so he's like, dude, everybody's just gonna be like bullying, like we're all gonna have our crowd there and like our squad, and it'll be a lot of fun because originally I was just gonna go up for the day, like fly up on Sunday, fly back, and then when I saw that, I was like, nah, I gotta go for the whole weekend.
It's gonna be a huge homie fest. Like it's gonna be so sick. And like you said, they kill it with the regionals. My boy Abe is actually the one who put all those names together, and
Mhm.
he vouched for you really hard. So I'm super happy that Abe did all that. He vouched for Plasma. He all the homies that are on there. Shout out to Abe because Abe did that. And
Dude, shout out Abe.
yeah,
I don't know who you are, but thank
he
you.
goes by Raw,
Oh,
R-A. Yeah, that's
okay, I
Abe.
know who
Yep,
he is now. I
yep,
know who you are, Abe,
that's
but
Abe.
thank you. And it's crazy because it's like just kind of relating this to the back end of the industry. It's just like you never know with social media who is watching, who's paying attention.
Yeah,
And that's why like you're someone who's always put like their head down and like worked, and I feel like long term that is the only way to go to like make an actual career out of it. Like there's so many different trajectories that you can have in this genre because I always say it's the only genre of music where you can really fake it until you make it and people want to do it just because of the lifestyle.
yeah,
And that's okay. Like there has to be everyone for each position that needs to be filled,
yep,
but you have to make a decision along the pathway of okay, do I just want to do this for the shows? Do I just want to do this for the experience? Or am I going to kind of take a back seat and say, this is my long term plan because this is where I want to go and I want to be able to live off of what I'm doing? Because so many people don't understand that these bookings and like these lifestyles that you see are like the top 5% of artists. And it's so much bullshit to get to that point where you're comfortably living.
it's so much bullshit, and people will never ever ever truly know it until they're in
Mhm.
our shoes doing exactly it, that going through it. So I mean, yeah, real recognize real on that one. Like it's always been a marathon for me, not a sprint. Like I'm enjoying the people I'm meeting through it and the songs I've been making, and just all the connections I've made throughout the years. And the quicker I've always looked at it as the faster you come up, the faster you come down. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
you always
I
want to.
remember, yeah, like oh, absolutely. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good.
I was just saying that it's absolutely that. And I remember distinctly having a conversation with Ricky Nitty Gritty like a long time ago, like when I had just started getting into it. And he was always like, one day a bell's gonna switch. You're not gonna want to be in the crowd anymore. You're not gonna want to go out. You're just going to be wanting to work on your craft and get to the long term. And then I remember after the tail end of our conversation, he goes, "You always want to be the underdog. I'll tell you that." And he is the epitome of someone who sits in that position where no one ever expects what's going to come from him, and it's like that's where I want to sit, and that's where it's like I feel if you take this back seat and you do the long run and you just put your head down and work, it's what happens if you don't give up. Like
Yep.
I think there's a fine line between realizing something that you're doing isn't working and then you have to reevaluate
Right.
and realizing what you're doing is working and you just have to trust the process and be patient because it's not going to come like that because if it comes like this, it's going to go like this and some people just don't fucking get it.
Yep. No, that's absolutely right. And Nitty is literally the epitome of that. And he's actually been one of the biggest inspirations throughout everything because how multi-talented that kid is. Like everything, all these different genres that kid can do. Like I just don't understand how one human could be so talented in so many fields. So it's insane.
But he
But
has a background that's comparable to yours and mine, where we're in like like were musicians. Like this scene, like didn't know who I was because I wasn't in this scene since I was 18. Like I went to music festivals, I did whatever, but it was like I was in a band and I was doing metal and I was doing like
Oh, really?
mixing and mastering. Yeah, mixing and
No
mastering
way.
for metal bands, worked as an internship for a studio when I was at Full Sail. And then I like really got into the rave culture, but it's kind of like how you were with rapping and singer-songwriting and producing on your own in a different field, in a different genre. And
Yeah.
that's what Ricky did. That's exactly what he did. He started as a trance producer and then he was in like, I think like a punk pop band or like some boy band.
Oh my
And
God.
so like he has all of these like, not only does he have like credits on like Bad Bunny and like Pitbull shit and like so much stuff, and then started the side project with Party Favor as side piece.
Yep.
And it's just he's just such a good example of like not putting yourself in a box. And I can tell from a mile away if someone's really doing their own shit by their skill set and by like the times, like example of COVID like coming along. And it's like, okay, if like you are a real artist and you're a real creative, like you're going to be able to adapt and say, okay, I need to take on freelance work. I need to get on Fiverr. I need to do vocal top lines. I need to do X, Y, and Z. Not, oh, touring's not happening. I'm stuck. Like,
Yeah.
I will never put myself in a position where I have one source of income again because we just have too much of a skill set to do it like that, you know?
Amen. Amen. Very true.
And it's just, it's also us existing closely in, I have to word this carefully, in regional scenes. We see a lot of people come from the ground up. So we've seen fake ass people, we see people who put their head down and work, and it's just like any industry. There's a whole bout of them and they're all over the place, and you just the more that I've kind of learned is I just like to keep to myself and like keep the circle small because it just gets messy and it's not worth to deal with messy things. I don't know. What's your take on that? And it's okay. This is why I have a podcast. If someone wants to leave a comment, they can leave a comment, but it doesn't matter what you say.
Oh no, the circle stay small, always has been small. Like I literally don't hang out with anybody but the people I either live with or if I'm with my girlfriend, but like literally I don't allow myself to be around anything that's either going to make me think differently about what I'm doing now or how I need to do things. And it's like nothing really against other people. It's just like I have the right to choose who I want to be around and what I want to give my energy to. And like I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I do not have time to do anything that is unproductive at this point. So it's like I'm only going to be around the real people that I know have my best interests and love me and care about me. And there's literally no fakes around my shit. Like I can't like, and I see it from a mile away too. I'm not going to treat them any different. Like if I'm engaged with somebody that I don't necessarily want to be around, obviously I'm not going to treat them like shit, but I'm not going to give them my like 100% like I'm not going to give them all of me. Like, I'm going to get out of that conversation as quickly as possible.
Oh,
And
for sure. For sure.
you know how it is, but everyone's doing it differently. And, I don't know if there's an exact right way to do things, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you think is right. So, just got to follow your gut and your heart.
There isn't a right like way to do things. Like there's not, this is like such like a fucked and amazing industry where like there is no A to Z. You don't get your bachelor's and then go get your law degree and then get the internship or get the secretary job and move yourself up. There are so many ways that you can be innovative and prove yourself unique, prove yourself whatever, agents or talent buyers want to see. And it's like, it's a really hard road, and I think you have to go through shitty relationships and meeting shitty people to
Yeah.
realize that like what you said about your energy is so important because it's exhausting. It's exhausting when you're like, why am I around these people? Why am I stressing out about this? Just trying to produce decent music and go about your daily life and continue to progress is stressful enough as like an up and coming artist than having to worry about, drama or other things that are just deemed unnecessary for you to spend your time on and your energy on.
Yep. Absolutely. She don't miss, folks.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't
But
miss.
because it's like, because when I wanted to have you on, it's just we can relate in a way that is a little bit unique as to we're in this same position, kind of in the same region, and it's like it's mentally tasking. And I hope, up and coming like artists and producers can, or even DJs can relate to this because, the scene is just nasty sometimes. And it's so important to like keep your head on straight and not get distracted because you can just get distracted so easily. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, holy fuck, like I'm in high school again. Like this, I'm in high school. And you just, I'm a homebody now. It's like unless I play or have a reason to go out to build on like what I'm building, I'm
Mhm.
at home. I got my dog, my boyfriend, the people around me that I know care about me, want the best for me, people like Caro, people like Jess, and it's like those are the people who I keep in my circle and keep close. The other ones, you always want to be respectful. You never want to burn a bridge with anyone,
Of
but
course.
it's okay to keep your distance. And
Yeah.
it's okay, it's okay to say, okay, like I'm doing my own thing. I'm working on my own thing. And as far as like drink your water goes, I would love to know kind of your journey because I know a lot of people kind of see you as a semi-resident, semi-artist like with Iris. How did you get started with that? I know you said they were booking you when you lived in South Carolina still. How did
Yeah.
you grow with them and then like use that as an advantage point to build yourself in other markets?
So I was getting booked originally, and this is funny. It all started with Abe with Raw. I met him through the scene, and we just became kind of like online homies. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I would love to play there. And he was a resident at Iris and whatnot. So he started like putting my name in everyone's ears. He's like, yo, I got this guy, blah blah blah. He's doing all these big rap features, but he wants to do EDM, and he's a good DJ. So let's bring him to Atlanta. So I started getting booked through Iris through him very early on, like 2016 time, 2015, I think, and started coming down there, playing a lot, playing a bunch. And then once I was like, I don't know, I'm not like trying to boast or anything. I just have like really crazy energy on stage. And like at the time, like the promoters for Iris were like, wow, dude, like you actually like, you know how to rock a crowd. Like that was pretty cool. So we want to keep bringing you back, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, that 4 hour drive is just so hard. And that just wasn't fun at all. And I wasn't
Mhm.
making much money at the time. So I wasn't getting hotels and stuff. I was just driving back right after the show, getting home at like 6 a.m. And that was getting tiring. And I was just at the point in my life where I could really just do whatever I wanted to do and like move wherever. So I told him, I was like, yo, if I moved to Atlanta, like, would you guys continue to keep booking me? Cause like I'd really be moving there for the gigs and like to be able to start branching out. Cause I had the drink your water idea in my head. I just didn't know how to execute it at all because I didn't have a team. It was just really me making my own shots and my own decisions. So I ended up moving out and then started getting booked a little bit more here and there. And then once I released the Drink Your Water project and started actually producing my own music, that's when one of the promoters at Iris and I sat down and he was like, yo, we want to make you like a semi type resident, not like, I told him I didn't want to play too much. I didn't want to get like, oversaturated and whatnot. But he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we'll start booking you once or twice a month. Here's your rate. We'll do this. And then we'll even, put you on Imagine. And, as long as you just keep promoting and bringing people out type stuff. So I really just stuck with it and just kept promoting for them and helping them out with whatever they needed. And, I just started getting booked regularly, like big dubstep acts that were coming in. They were always throwing me on direct support and it was super sick. And yeah, and I just kind of used that to build my Atlanta fan base. And yeah, it was just really all through word of mouth. Started with Abe and then just started with me just showing face. And I even was going to shows that I wasn't even playing just so I could like show them like, hey, I'm here to support, like need anything, let me know. So yeah, that's kind of how I got embedded with them. And then, I started getting booked elsewhere in the city. There's other big clubs that were doing their thing. So but it really all started with Iris. Like I owe it all to them for showing me so much love in the early stages of my career. And so it's kind of
That's
how all
awesome.
that happened. Oh yeah.
It's all just like persistency and time. I remember exactly how you started with Iris. I started with Ritz because I was still in Orlando and
Mhm.
I was like, working 2 jobs. I was going to school, and then I would play at Ritz, and then I would drive back and sleep in the country club parking lot before I had to open up my country
Uh,
club. And
oh,
like, but it's like that's just like the grind, and that's the grind that nobody sees, and that's literally just for being a resident. That's like not even for being like doing any crazy shit. And it's but there are those clubs like Iris, like the Ritz, that presents a special opportunity
yeah.
that gives you this access. I have so many people all the time that ask me, was the residency worth it? Was the growth worth it? And it's like they'll look at the track line, they'll look at people like Blunts and Blondes, they'll look at people like Dev, and I'm just like, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone's path is different, and you are what you make of it.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna take advantage of it and you're gonna release tunes, you're going to promo the shit out of it, you're going to use your city to your full advantage and grow a huge market for you there, fucking run it. Like do it. But there will come a time where you have to weigh the severity of being loyal in a certain market and saying, okay, it's time to pull away and build my demand here and build this here. Cause it's like you just played in Orlando and you just played, you've been playing other places as well. And I think in our similar situations that I would not be where I am now without the residency.
Mhm.
And I would say that you would say the same about Iris.
Absolutely, yeah. Just because of the following it brought me, like the loyal amount of people. Because Iris is that venue that no matter who's playing, it doesn't matter who is playing, it's going to be packed. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the Ritz is kind of the same, right? Like people just
Yes.
show up. Like it's
Doesn't
always
matter
there.
who's playing.
Okay, yeah. So it's like that's just how it is and how it's always been. When I knew I was getting booked, I knew there'd be a shit ton of people there every time, and I was like, all right, here's my chance to blow a bunch of new people's minds who probably have never seen me. So that's why, like you said, it was just a huge opportunity to like build what you got going on. And I don't know how it was with the Ritz, like if you were allowed to play at other places when you were like super like resident, because it was every Saturday, right?
It was Saturday and then Friday. I was there for like 3.5 years. So I like had to work my way up. So I
Okay.
started playing house music when I was making dubstep at home. So I
Got
was like, okay, gotta like eat the bullet, do whatever. So I started on Saturdays, and then I moved to Fridays, which was the bass night. And
That's
then
right. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and then when everybody kind of moved along and moved on their way, I was able to like play that direct support slot, which is what I did for like a year and a half, 2 years, which was super, super sick, and really was what made me felt like it was worth it. Cause not only did I get to like test out my music, like I just there were beneficial points that and it streamlined like my career path. Like I feel like when you I look at careers and what like general consumers like don't understand is when most of the time, 90% of the time, when somebody pops up out of nowhere, they've been doing it for 10 years. They've
Mhm.
been grinding. They've been doing support tours. They've been doing their local market, and then they get picked up or X, Y, and Z. And I felt like that position there streamlined me. But the answer to your question is that no, but there's nowhere else in Tampa that I would have wanted to play. Like
Got
it's kind of like Atlanta's a much bigger city,
it. Mhm.
whereas Tampa, like that's your premier electronic dance music club. And then if you go on from that, you're going either to maybe the Hard Rock or like a stadium like Amalie or the Bucks Field or something like that. So
Okay.
we were advised not to. That was kind of like a mutual agreement, but I never had a desire to go anywhere else. But as far as like Orlando, that's free reign. Jacksonville, free reign. So they were super cool about as long as you kind of were transparent with them and had that mutual respect, they were cool with you doing whatever.
That's kind of how it was with Iris. Like if there was another competing big show going on in the city, which there always is, like there's
Always.
always different shows. Just had to be straight up with them, like, yo, like, this is a good opportunity. And they were always super appreciative and like honest with me about stuff. And they always kind of just let me do my thing. So never really butted heads with anybody.
That's good.
So super grateful for that and whatnot. So
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
like I think so many people don't realize how many large artists and producers started with residencies. Like I can name like Nitty Gritty had a residency in Miami. Blunts and Blondes was at Ritz. Like I just like Lick was somewhere I think in Michigan, and it's just I think the majority of people once they're in that position, they either get the bug to being I personally was like, I'm sick of playing other people's tracks. I was like, I want to play like my own music where I'm at now is like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting bored DJing. Like, let's start singing. Let's start bringing in some live elements. Let's start doing something else, something to like keep pushing it forward.
Yeah.
Or you're just like content with being a DJ. Like, I've met both people. Everyone has different journeys. And that's something too that was kind of like a hard pill to swallow is that, you know, not everyone wants to do this as a career. Some people just like love it for what it is and it's like a great hobby and it's a great like weekend thing, but it's a totally different mindset to be like, okay, I'm doing something that wasn't necessarily part of the plan because it's going to help me in my like long-term like vision and goals.
Yep, exactly. That's you don't miss, folks.
It's just like
Literally not.
no.
So true. It's so fucking true. Like,
But it's cool though, because it's like you can't really talk about this shit on Twitter or like even on like comments. Like I guess I could do like an IG live, but it's so different when you're able to have like a transparent conversation of someone, especially like you too. Like I usually have like guests that I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking to them. Like I have like a list of questions. And like with you, I'm comfortable because I feel like we're just in like the same position where we're like growing and we've had these residencies and they've given us these like opportunities. Now it's kind of just in our court to be patient and like keep hustling. And but it's still, it doesn't make it any easier. It's still just like, I said to somebody the other day, because I've seen all that fucking ghost production shit on Twitter. I'm just like, dude, like, not only can I tell now from a mile away if somebody's fake, but like it's like everyone's hustle's different. If you have the fucking money, dude, do whatever. I commend the fucking ghost producers because I'm like, you guys are making racks and you're not
yeah,
even having to get out of your bedroom. Like the amount of people that I know get paid for like thousands of dollars. I'm like, what? Like what? That's
yeah.
fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
But you know, everyone's hustle's different. But my thing was just like dude, like making music's fucking hard, bro. Like it's a creative like mind fuck and it's amazing. Like it's an amazing outlet. Like if I'm ever pissed, I'm like, let's go. Like I have my bass guitar, I have like my fucking mic, like I can like get whatever going, but to like refine something, I'm someone who gets to that 80% mark with no problem and then I don't touch the song for a year. I won't touch it for 6 months and I'll just let it sit there. And then by the time I revisit it, I'm like, my skill set and my techniques are so different that I don't even want to fucking finish it. So, like, I don't know, like, what is your creative process like? I would love to know, like, the difference between when you're writing, like, a feature for someone or rapping versus production with Drink Your Water.
So, like you said, making music is so hard.
So
It's
hard.
definitely one of the hardest things I've ever come across. Like making hip hop beats, not knocking hip hop producers, but like making hip hop beats is super simple. Like that's kind of what I learned making music on was just melodies, drums, and that was really it. It's just there's not too much to it. Like obviously you got your producers that are groundbreaking, insane, but like dance music is just, dude, especially with all the critiques, because it's like nowadays I feel like most producers, myself, I've gotten stuck where I'm like, wow, what can I make that's gonna blow other producers' minds? Like,
Gonna be different. It's gonna
yeah,
be unique. Yeah.
like, and I started thinking for the longest time, I was like, what can I make that's gonna make like the people that I know and look up to, like, what's gonna make them want to play it? But I stopped thinking about like, what's the crowd gonna like? So it's like for me, it's always been less is more. Like I've always just tried to keep it really simple, but just I just always end up fucking hearing someone else's shit and just comparing what I got going on to it. I'm like, fuck, like I gotta
Literally.
do this. So it's such a mental mind fuck doing this music shit. Like that's another part that makes it so hard. Like not even just making it, but so basically like writing lyrics for me has always been super easy. I don't know why. I just
Same. Literally
yeah,
same. Yeah.
it's always just been very simple and like because it's coming from the heart. Like making sounds and dubstep and shit, I don't feel like comes from the heart. That's all brain work, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like it was always very easy for me to make lyrics up and like do all the rap features and shit. There obviously were times where I couldn't come up with anything, but dude, just making like sounds and creating all these like just little intricate things that you need to, and dance music is so insane to me, and I'm still learning every day. I don't think anyone's got it down perfectly. I think everyone is still a student, always going to be learning. But yeah, I don't know. It's just there's a huge difference in the lyric writing, because like you said, it's a lot easier because you can even just like freestyle stuff and just come up with like melodies and like harmonies on your own and then just fill in the gaps later. So I don't know. Like I don't know why. I always start with the drop first when I'm making like dance stuff. I don't know why. That's just how
I do too.
yeah, I always just start with the drop, and I can kind of base the song around what the drop sounds like. It's easier for me to do that than rather than writing an intro or a break first. So it varies every time, but yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still learning and still watching YouTube tutorials every fucking time I'm producing, and digging through Splice for more time than I am fucking actually making the song. I feel like just looking for perfect little sounds that I haven't already used, and it's just so much stuff, man.
It is. And
it's
it's
insane.
so time consuming. It's like, it's literally like hats off. And that's when I can tell too, is cause like it's a full-time job to make something that you're happy with and you
Yeah.
feel like checks all of the boxes. And because we're like in the scene, like we look at that 10% instead of what you said, instead of the crowd. We sometimes get our mind in. I use Twitter as a good example because Twitter seems so loud, but it's actually such a small percentage of people that represents our scene. You know what I'm saying? It's like the loudest ones are always going to be in like the smallest numbers, and they're always going to try and do the most damage. And that's where our head goes to, oh my God, would these labels like it? Is this forward thinking? Is this something that's gonna impress my fellow producers or producers that I look up to? When the crowd just wants a good piece of music, you know? It just wants a good piece of music. And there is a difference between being an established artist and following a certain formula and being an up and coming artist and following a certain formula, because when you reach this level that, you're secured, you're on a good agency, you're going to have the tour offers coming in, any label you're going to give it to is going to take it because your social media is higher and you have these great shows. That's a different approach than, hey, like I'm grinding my ass off to try and do something that's different. Because finding that different like hemisphere is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And like exactly what you said, like I will literally just sit here at like 11 o'clock at night. My boyfriend will be playing like video games, and I will just hit my pen for like 4 hours and have like Vital open and Omnisphere and Serum and just try and like make sounds, like something that I like, and like just save it in a folder. But that's just like not even constructing the song. There's so many different parts, from like sound design sessions to actually composing or like producing, and then mixing, and then mastering, and that's just for like one body of work. And it just like, and then you don't want it to sound like somebody else, and there's just like 5 billion dubstep producers, and you can always find somebody who's going to be like, I remember when I used to put out tracks, they'd be like, oh, it sounds like this Must Die intro, oh, it sounds like this drop, oh, it sounds like this. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you look at any chord progression, every band has used it 5 billion
Yeah.
times. So
Everything's been used by now.
everything's been
Like,
used. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I think it's hard too, though, because it's a little bit of a mind fucked, because there's like this infinite amount of possibilities in like electronic production and like working in a DAW. Are you in FL or Ableton?
I'm using Logic. I've been in Logic my whole
Oh,
life.
no way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm doing a collab with somebody in Logic right now, but that's sick. I started in Logic when I was doing like band stuff
Yeah.
before getting into Ableton, but it doesn't matter what like DAW you're working in. It's just like there's so many techniques and there's so many ways that you can do something differently. Whereas compared to playing the guitar or playing, just a musical instrument, it's like you're only going to get one sound. You're going to process it how you need it to be processed, and that's it. You're just focused on the actual composition of the music. And that's where I feel like it gets lost, especially now. I feel like some people are just in this realm where it's a sound design game, and it's like not even like listenable. I'm like props to you, like art is subjective, but I want there to be a melody or a vocal or something that I can like grasp my ears to, and not just like 16 bars of wacky sound design. And to each their own. There's a market for all of them, but
Yeah.
that's where I feel like it is right now. It's like it's just like super super technical, and like how technical can you possibly get? And yeah, and that's why it's just better to try and not follow trends and just stick in your own lane, because when you follow the trends, it like puts like a stamp on it, puts like a
Yeah.
time stamp on it. And I feel like even looking at like rhythm, like the super heavy rhythm, like it's not as poppin' as it used to be, and it's just this phase, and now like the melodic stuff is in, and I'm sure that'll be a phase too. And it's just,
Oh yeah.
I just finished up a track with Figure, and like when he came on the podcast, he just said, I don't do trends, I just do me and what I want to do, because if they're going to like me, they're going to like me. If I don't have a market in whatever Wisconsin, then I don't have a market in whatever Wisconsin. It doesn't matter, because I know that I'm making stuff that I want to make. And I feel like that's so important to realize, because we just get compared no matter who you are, what shoes you're in, what gender, what ethnicity, like you get compared to so many people in this, because ultimately, like you're a product, like whether you have an agent or not, or you're a local or you're a resident or whatever, you're still looking at as like you're being looked at as something that is sellable.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and there's
Ugh.
so fucking many of us doing that, so it's, you know, it's very easy to get compared and very easy to get put into a box with what everyone else is doing. So yeah, you just gotta, yeah, like you said, you just gotta make what makes you happy, and like it's just, you know, people in the crowd aren't gonna care what like your snare or how crispy your snare is, or just like little shit like that. Like I've always just, like I said, I always try to impress other people who are making music when they probably truly don't give a fuck about you, and that's not who you need to give a fuck about you. You need the audience, you need the consumers to give a fuck about you. So you just have to do you and make what makes you happy. And you know, I mean, if it sounds good, it sounds good. That's my rule.
It's literally that. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Like, you know, if something sounds like shit, like if it doesn't sound good, it doesn't sound good. If it does, it does. And I have a, I do Patreon now, where I do like lessons and just like content for people. And some of my students, we've been doing like sound design stuff, and he was just like, if it sounds good, I'm just gonna duplicate it, and I'm gonna do it until it doesn't sound good anymore. I'm like, that's great, dude. Like, go for it. Because at the end of the day, it's about the consumer and it's about you, but it's kind of like that self-recognition of when you send a producer something and they're like, whoa, that's sick. And especially if it's somebody you like listen, like you look up to. So it's like, that's important, because that feeds into your like self-gratification that gets broken down so many times like in this industry. So it's important to have that, you know. But it's just it's an uphill battle. It's definitely an uphill battle. And I feel like very few, not very few, like you make it, but you're the only one that like calls it off. Like no one's going to be like, "Oh, Kevin, you're done. Like your career is done." Like you're the only one that's going to be like, "Okay, I'm done. Like I'm throwing in the towel. Like this isn't for me." And I feel like I've seen a ton of people do that in the last like 6 months, and I don't know if it was because of COVID or whatever, but it's sad, but it's also the reality of it is that you just have to be such so on top of yourself and like how you're managing your time and your finances and like the team that you have and like your schedule to actually be able to do this and like pull it off to get to the other side, because it's just like never ending.
Yeah, you need such a strong mental core to be able to withstand the trauma that, I'm not trying to make it sound that bad, but it is so much mental toughness you need to make it in this scene. Like even just to stay afloat, like it requires so much strength from up here. And like obviously you got to love what you're doing to be able to stay in it, but it's literally all uphill. And I feel like everyone's going uphill until, like you said, you get that established where you're just good and you know you're good, and anything
You're coasting, you're
yeah,
riding.
like I'm down to just get there, you know, I'm down to coast. Like the uphill shit's gonna get old at some point, but you know, I'm still loving it and still enjoying everything. And you know, there's literally no stopping in sight at this point, because like I just always just like making music. And even if it's just at the level I'm doing it now, I'm still going to enjoy it. So
See, and like as long as that's your number one, because it's like that's how it is for me too. And like there's certain aspects that I just like love. Like I love performing. I love singing. Like I love using like organic instruments in like Ableton and like fucking them up and creating sounds out of that. What I don't love is sound design. What I don't love is mixing. Like there's going to be a balance. You just have to always remember like why you're in it, and if you really love it you won't give up. It's the people who I see that like throw in the towel, and there are like other factors, don't get me wrong, there's always family, financial, all of that other stuff. It's so hard, but most of the time the people that I see that don't make it through are people that weren't in it for the right reasons to begin with, because it's so hard. It's so hard. And it's just like, even though it may be a little bit of like it's not a depressing conversation, it's a real conversation.
yeah.
I have these things, like these conversations with my boyfriend all the time, because now I'm like gone from the residency and I'm getting like booked other places. And even though being booked as local or regional support resident, whatever, versus being booked as like a legitimate artist is very different financially. I tell him all the time, it's like people don't understand. Management takes a cut, agents take a cut. You have to pay for your flights. Sometimes hotel isn't included. Sometimes you don't have per diem. And then, that $1,000 dwindles and it dwindles and it dwindles. And then you go, oh my God, I'm in the hole. I'm in the hole and I haven't made anything. And, I walked away, and that's what COVID taught me, as well as just like being like, hey, like, don't just focus on Lizzy Jane and make it your priority, but don't just do that to make money. Like you want to enjoy what you're doing. And I think kind of this like bittersweet kind of middle ground is saying, okay, so for you not to be resentful and like financially stressed, because that's some of the worst stress, period, is financial stress. Like have another form of income that you're going to be able to pay your bills with, so you don't have to like get mad at your project for not doing well or not doing exactly what you wanted it to do. So it's like, but it's all part of the journey. And if people get there too quick, they don't have these appreciations, they don't have these like realisms that they're supposed to have when figuring this out to make it last long and not just disappear. Exactly what you said about like being the underdog and like being kind of like under the curve, opposed to like as fast as it comes up, as fast as it's going to go down.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just it's a hell of an industry, but I've like met some of my best friends in it, and like I've met some amazing people. And no matter where you're working, you're always going to have like shitheads, and you're also going to have like really awesome people,
Yeah, it's all about the balance, and there's more good than bad, but there always has to be the bad. Like there always has to be those people to kind of like teach you to how to not be and how to keep yourself grounded, and just kind of just like let them set the example for you on how to be and how not to be type shit. So
Definitely.
so
Definitely. I want to know what is new for Drink Your Water. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me if you've got any collabs or even stuff for Kevin Flum, because I know you still do features here and there.
yeah. So I got I'm sitting on a bunch of Kevin Flum stuff. It's just kind of like I've noticed that like most of my like fans that have been sticking with me, because I had one song back in like I think it was 2014 or something, went stupid viral. Like I think it's like, if I had to check, it would probably be at like 35, 36 million plays on YouTube, like stupid amount. And it was this stupid song called You Mad Bro. Like whatever. Like at the time I was 20 years old and I made the song, and it's just like I've grown so much since I made the song. So that's why it's like kind of with Chainsmokers. Like if you brought up Selfie, they'd be like, oh, like fuck that song. Like
God damn it.
it's
Yeah.
the same shit. But like all my fans, like I started making more like melodic type, like a little bit of auto-tuning stuff here and there, and they'd be like, no, like we want the You Mad Bro Kevin back. And like it sets such a like weird stigma for people to expect that type of music from me, because that's like most people discovered me off of that one song. And it's like I notice when I make more like harder talking shit cocky type rap music, they like that more, and which is cool. I like that, but like that's just I've always just enjoyed kind of just doing me and not having to worry about what people are going to like or not going to like. So it's been very difficult for me to continue doing that type of stuff. And then when I do EDM features, like when I did the one with Taboo recently, my rap is just like, when I post about it on Instagram, it barely gets any likes. Like no one really interacts with it. And then like when I'll post one of my own songs of like just me and doing like the hard like rap and cocky type shit, then it goes crazy. So it's like I'm studying and I see what people want and what they don't want. So I've just been like stacking up Kevin Flum shit. I got like at least an album's worth of music just sitting. I just don't really know what I want to do with it. I don't want to release an album and it flop. Like I've always in the rap game studied how when I drop EPs and projects, there's always just one song that performs really well and the rest of the songs just kind of get forgotten and washed away. And I hate wasting music, especially music that I put my all into. So I really just have like a plan to just kind of just drop singles throughout the rest of the year and then just keep them moving in 2022 and kind of just like, you know, drop a strategic music video for each one, whichever one that I feel like is going to perform more, I'm going to do a video for. I'm not going to do a video for like just a song that I don't love or don't think it's going to pop. Because I've noticed anytime I do a video for a song, the song itself, like on Spotify, gets way more plays. And so doing videos for shit obviously helps out a lot. So as far as the Kevin Flum shit, I'm just sitting on a lot of stuff that I'm planning on releasing soon here. But my focus has really been on the Drink Your Water stuff because that's like where I've been getting more attention from and getting booked from. And so as far as Drink Your Water, I also have a fuck ton of music I'm sitting on. I'm not going to say like it's like groundbreaking shit where I'm excited to release it. It's more like I'm still getting everything perfect because I mix master. I do everything myself. But I do have some really cool singles. I have a collab with Heckler that we started like I think a month ago, and where it's at now is absolutely insane and it's so sick. But Sean has like a bunch of album stuff coming out soon, so that song's not going to be out for maybe until like January of next year. um but yeah, no, I have a bunch of stuff. I would say at least 12, 13 songs that I'm absolutely excited and stoked about that I'm ready to put out, but I'm in the process right now of shifting to a new management team and a new like just whole new team that's going to have like control, kind of like helping me out with what I'm doing and whatnot, because I was working with Paul Reed and Justin Barding for the last 2 years, and then COVID hit and kind of just like slowed everything down for us. We weren't really able to execute what we wanted to make happen, but we still, you know, got a few releases out. We got the Subsidia release out, you know, all that cool stuff. um so yeah, so just right now I'm just kind of in the process of shifting. I think by next week everything will be like done and ready, and then that's when I'm going to sit down with my new team and kind of just figure out how we're going to start blasting out the new songs, maybe do like a debut EP or something. um so yeah, I don't know, like I've sent out a couple of folders here and there and people are really stoked. Like a lot of producer homies are pretty stoked on what I got going on. So like first time I've actually felt really confident in my like actual music making, because I suffer, I'm sure you and a bunch of people in our lane have imposter syndrome. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like, God, I just feel like my shit sounds like shit compared to everything else. But then I get reminded by like homies, like, no, dude, this is actually really good. Like, this is clean. And I know they're not just telling me that because like I know the people. And like I always ask people, like, listen, don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. Like, tell me this sucks. Tell me this sucks. Tell me the sub sucks. Tell me the kick sucks. Like, let me know. So recently I've just been getting a lot of like just affirmations that I have decent stuff that I'm sitting on. I'm actually really stoked about it. And so, yeah, you know, we'll just see what happens. Hopefully for the rest of the year, got a decent little release schedule going. Not really trying to wait on labels too much anymore because I don't think I
It's
have
not
like,
worth it.
yeah,
It's not
no,
worth it.
it's not worth it. And I don't think what I have right now, and I'm being honest, I don't think what I have is like label worthy. Like maybe I could get, you know, a couple more Subsidia releases maybe, but I'm just trying to like save what I have for now just to see what it can do on its own. And then, you know, just see what kind of doors it could open. Cause like, you know, I don't know. I hate sitting on music. Cause like you said, you sit on something for a while, even if it's like still being made, you come back to it and you don't like it anymore because you realize that you've kind of like gotten a little bit better, or maybe you think differently than how you were thinking when you made the song. So it's like time's like your best friend and also your worst enemy in this kind of stuff, because like it's very easy to start not liking something you made, even though if it's trash to you, it might be gold to other people. So
Mhm.
it's such a weird game, man. But yeah, no, I'm stoked. I'm actually finally actually super excited that I'm like comfortable making my own stuff now and like actually being happy with how it's sounding towards the end. Because for the longest time I was like, man, this is ass. Like I don't know what I'm doing, and it's just a lot of comparing myself to like people and shit. So
I still say that every day. I literally will look at a project, listen to something in the car. I'm like, motherfucker, like this fucking sucks, dude. But it's just a process of it. And it kind of exactly what you said is that it's important to, I personally, when I'm beginning an idea, I'll send it to Mikey and he'll be like, this sounds like shit, or he'll be like, this is cool, change this, do this. And it's so important to have those people in your back pocket, not just people who are like, oh, this is great, I really didn't even listen to it, but it sounds great.
So good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good. And you're like, dude, there's a kick drum, but it's important to have those type of people, as well as like consumers, like your girlfriend and like other people listen to it, because they represent another circle, a more important circle of people who, are gonna listen to it. And like a lot of the times I'll show shit to my boyfriend and it'll be like a synth and I'll be like, isn't this so cool? And he's like, is that it? And I'm like, yes, but it's so
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. But it's like the final product, it's important to get, opinions from everyone. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen, especially because so many people, like there's all of these like COVID promoters now that have come out of nowhere, and like there's so many opportunities for people to DJ. Even though it's still incredibly saturated, there's a lot of opportunities for people to DJ. And the thing that I noticed the most is that I went through it myself. Like, if you get ahead of yourself DJing before you start to produce, and this is something you want to do seriously, you set this like bar in your mind. And like a lot of like people who go to clubs, like maybe not so much now as they did maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they think the music you're playing is yours. Like they'll be like, I love your music. Your
You're not gonna
tunes were.
know. Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, like none of that was mine. And then in your mind, it like builds up this blockade of, or if you have like a really strong release, like I put out a super awesome track that did really well in May. And then I was like, oh my God, I gotta top that track. The next track has to be better than that track. And it's like a mind fuck. And I think I teach a lot of kids on Patreon that are predominantly DJs, know how to DJ. It's not that hard. They get good bookings, they get good shows regionally, and they don't know how to produce, and they're scared to like embark on the journey because they know they're going to suck first. And I'm just like, the sooner that you start, the sooner you will stop sucking ass. And it's like, it's literally taken me 3-4 years to make something where I wasn't like when I listen to something that's good now, I'm like, damn, that's good. Like, it's really good. Like, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't sound like shit, but there's still, that's after what, 2 weeks, 100 hours, something like that to get it to that point.
Yep. Absolutely right.
Fucking crazy. It's just like, it's to a point where also the imposter syndrome, where I'm like, certain things will happen to you. And I feel like probably like when you had, I love my little HD webcam that I paid so much money for that is
Did it
just
just
a complete piece of
unfocus?
shit. It's literally so bad.
It hasn't done that once the whole
It
time.
hasn't. It hasn't. I'm like trying to figure it out. I don't know, whatever. It'll click back. But anyways, what I was saying, I'm stopping my video and I'm starting it again. There we go. Okay. So what I was saying was that with the imposter syndrome, like maybe you had it like the first time you played Imagine or the first time you like got on a huge stage. My thing is that, I'll get these bookings in, you'll get the offers. You're like, okay, sometimes I'll celebrate. Sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, this is like what I worked for, like da da da. And then other times it like doesn't hit me until I'm there. And I'm like, why am I here? Like, why is this happening to me? Is this a joke? Like, is something going to happen? I have like no cap had dreams that like I got booked accidentally, or I got booked like just some like wild shit that would never happen, but it's so real. I talked when I had Blunts and Wands on the podcast, Mike really talked about that. When he was like, I would be like, he's like, when I got kind of linked up with Taylor Gang guys, and I was like in the room with them, showing them beats. Some of the best hip hop producers I know like come from dubstep. And like maybe I just don't know that many hip hop producers, but like the beats that like Mikey makes, Plasma, like some of those guys, like they're fire, like absolutely like fire. And like there's such a lane to be had there. But he said that he was sitting in a room, and then one time like a guy turned around and just said, dude, like, what's your problem? And he's like, what? And he's like, you belong here. Like, you have imposter syndrome. Like, stop thinking you don't belong here, because that's what's going to kill you before you even open your mouth to show somebody something. And
That's so crazy. Because Mike's the one who told me that I have imposter syndrome, and then Mike literally told me about exactly what you just fucking said.
really,
I
yeah,
didn't know what imposter syndrome was until Mike told me what it was, and he told me it hit him when he was in that studio with Taylor Gang. So that's fucking
yeah,
crazy that you brought that up. That's actually
yeah.
insane.
It's a good,
God
good,
damn.
good story, Mike. Good story. But I think I had like heard of the term before, but when he asked, I was like, I don't think people know what it is. So like, tell me. And he explained that it's just when you don't feel like you belong where you're at. And
Yeah.
I think it's hard too, because it's like when you're constantly grinding, I can't like say how many times I would just like, usually it leads from when I get like super stoned alone. I'll just be like thinking, and I'll just be like, dude, what if this doesn't work out? Like, what am I gonna do if this doesn't work out? I have a like a backup plan. Like, I have other things I can do, but it's just when you've put so much work into something, and you know you've sacrificed so much to continuously put in work, it's like mentally draining. But then when it finally happens, it feels like it's not happening. And it's such a weird thing to try and, I guess, like explain, but it's the most odd feeling, but then like satisfying too, that you're there and that it's happened to you. And it's just
Yeah.
like this big circle. And I feel like no matter how accomplished you can be, or how like high of a level you reach, you can still have that like sitting in the back of your mind.
That's what I was just about to say. That like, do you have that? Do you think like sit there and have those thoughts like as of recently, like in the past few months?
Oh yeah, like literally just sitting in the studio and being like, okay, like this is going to happen. You have to mentally prepare for it to happen. And then it just hitting me like, oh, it's happening. Like, oh, like
Yeah.
when I literally thought I was like put on like a side stage at Imagine. For a second I was like, am I playing the silent disco? And then they were like, no, like you're on main stage. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, oh wow, like that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And it's
No, you're
like
doing it.
you know, so but it's cool because there's other people like yourself, like other people in Florida, like Mike and stuff, that have gone through the same thing. And that's why I think it is important to have that like circle that you're able to like talk about. And like that's why I have a podcast too, because there's so many aspiring producers now. Like, you see it, I'm sure people hit you up all the time, how can I play at Iris, how can you get
Oh
me
yeah,
into Iris?
easy.
And it's just important for people to know like that it's normal. It's a normal thing. Like, even incredibly large artists like have those feelings of like, holy shit, like this is my life, I'm here. But in that moment, you're not thinking of everything you've done to get there, and like all of the work that you've done to get there.
Yep.
And it's, yeah, and that's why I think like my boyfriend, like if I didn't have my boyfriend, I would literally just be like in a ditch somewhere, because he's just he's just like, you've like worked really hard and like you don't see it. And I'm sure you do the same thing. People don't realize that what we do most of the time, we don't consider work because we love it, but
Mhm.
we work like 80-hour weeks. Like, sometimes we're working for 12 hours a day. And like, whether that's doing emails, promo, actually working on music, putting together sets, like that's all under the umbrella of your job. And
Yeah.
it's very easy for people to get lost in like, when you're doing something you love, you can like lose yourself in that. And
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
it's important to have or recognize that there's like a difference. Like, you're Drink Your Water, but you're also Kevin. And like, I'm Lizzy Jane, but I'm also Liz, where you have these like touches of reality where you realize that there's another life. Because I've talked to larger artists on here, and also like behind closed doors, where they just say that they have everything they wanted, but if they're not at a festival or they're not at a club, they don't have anyone to talk to, and they don't have like real people that they confide in. And I feel like it's so important to have those people along the way, because COVID, as a perfect example, like the world can stop spinning at the drop of a hat, or your world can stop spinning, and then, who's there? And I think a thing that like we deal with is like, how many people actually give a fuck about you if you're not in the green room, or can't guest list them, or can't do this, or
No,
can't do
it's
that,
so fucking true.
you know?
So true. Doesn't your boyfriend do like your visuals and stuff or
So
visual?
he did my visuals for a while.
Okay.
He actually manages a shit ton of Verizons. So he works in corporate America.
Oh,
And then but like I had no idea when I started dating him that he was like so incredibly like talented in like the side of like visual and graphics and stuff. And I'm like, dude, like you literally could get paid thousands of dollars to do this. And I'm cool with the
yeah.
differentiation. Like it's a grasp on reality that I didn't really have before I met him. But yeah, like he does a lot of my visuals and he like smashes it. And like it's cool because it's like even though he's like super busy now, it's like this kind of middle ground where like we can smoke and like be creative and like sometimes like we'll try and make crazy shit on Ableton or whatever. But it's just it's cool to have that in like my back pocket. For a while he was like, I'm gonna do the DJ thing. He's like, I want to DJ, and he's like, no, I'm not fucking doing that shit. And I'm like, yeah, but it's cool because it's like this total, we lead like such different lives, but I also think that's why we balance it out,
Yeah.
because he like represents this totally different part of like society that like we sometimes can get lost in. And like people just don't realize that the life that we lead is not a realistic life by like any mean sort or like energy or whatever. So it's
Not
cool. I don't know. Is your girlfriend like is she kind of in the scene, or does she kind of exist on her own?
So this is gonna blow your mind too. She actually does all my visuals and she
Oh,
runs my visuals at my shows. Like
no
she
way.
she is so sick with it. Like she is nasty. Like she started off, I think she started doing Blunts and Blondes for a while. She would get like a couple of shows here and there whenever Jolly Josh wasn't able to do it. And she did Forbidden Kingdom. She ran Sully's visuals, Sub Doctor. Like she
Oh,
kills it. And
fire.
she's came up with a bunch of like cool water themed stuff for my project. So like I was like, man, I'm pretty sure Lizzie's boyfriend kind of like does
That's
what my girlfriend does. Yeah,
fire.
so I'm like, damn, you and I are like hella similar in hella ways. Like it's super
I
dope.
know. It's really it's honestly almost like a little, I'm like, holy shit. Okay, but that's
Yeah,
fucking fire. Well,
yeah.
I was going to say with Josh, what I did was I was like, Josh, I was like, my boyfriend made these, like, do you have any tips for him? So right now he's learning how to VJ, because I'm like long term, like if I can just like put you on my crew list and you do my visuals, like that would be so prime. Like
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
it's the perfect position. Like you're not a producer, you're not an artist, like you're not having to deal with a bunch of shit. You can still have fun, and
Yeah,
then you just do my visuals. And like
yeah.
that, and that's super super sick, cuz it's a whole nother, that's something that I really like aspire to like reach that point in the next year where we have like timed visuals, because that takes your shit to like a whole nother level where you
Yeah.
have an actual VJ sitting there knowing when the stuff's getting timed up, like, and it's a whole art form. Like I can't do that. When I watch him design visuals, it started because his like his buddies, I got them to play at Ritz just because like I'm like, okay, you guys like make music, this is dope. And he's like, okay, so like I'm gonna do visuals for them. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw him do visuals. I'm like, why the fuck did you not tell me you could do this? Like, so then he just started doing a bunch of visuals for me, and we have like all new stuff for Imagine and Lost Lands. So
Hell yeah.
it'll just be super cool to like see them on a big screen. It's always different when it's like a screen that big. So that'll be cool. That's so funny. Is that how you guys like met? Kind of.
I met, it was funny. I kind of just DM'd her randomly on Instagram and she was in the phase of she was just going to shows and, just
Yeah, yeah,
partying.
yeah, yeah.
And I just saw her and I guest listed her to a set. I think I was opening for Downlink at Iris, and that's how we met. And then through that, I kind of just like introduced her to like the scene and whatnot. And she made her own connections through other people. I think she met Preston a while back and she kind of just got embodied into the scene. And she started realizing like, wow, I kind of want to just not be there being just what is she doing here. She wants to have a purpose of being there. And
Mm-hmm.
she always just liked the visual work and stuff. And then she buckled down, she bought her all her gear and shit, and then she started just practicing and learning all the shit that she needed to do. And then before you knew it, she was running all my stuff, and then she started just getting booked through other people. And
That's fire.
she's running a couple of people at Lost Lands too. She'll be there. And yeah, I don't, kind of just been like a growing process for both of us. We kind of just like been both watching each other grow and blossom. So it's been really sick.
That's amazing. And it's
Beautiful
like,
feeling.
that's where like the majority of people start is I remember once I kind of made that transition, I wasn't like in the scene at all. Like until I started at Ritz, like I didn't know artists, like I didn't know whatever. I was just spending money on going to festivals and going to shows. And
Yep.
then I was looking at what I was doing, and I had a friend who was in Orlando. He said somebody called out. He asked if I could play on CDJs. I lied and said I could. And
Same.
then I got there and there was like me, my roommate, and my friend. And that's the only people in the room. And I was like, wow, that really wasn't that hard. Like maybe I can figure this out. Got Ableton, and everyone starts as like a raver, like for the most
Yeah,
part. Like they start
absolutely.
as a fan of music. Like there's only very few people who I met who are like, no, I wasn't into this before I started making this music, because our music is designed to be performed in like live concert venues or at festivals. That's where our music is designed to be at. And that's why when COVID hit, it was such a hard hill for our industry, because most people, I'm not like listening to rhythm when I'm cooking eggs. Like I'm not listening to that shit. Like you want to hear that in a club system with an amazing, sub racks and all of that stuff, or Hennessy sound, PK sound, and then that didn't exist anymore. So that's why like all of these people get into it. And that's also the reason that I don't have a problem with it, but I can't say like I'm not pissed by it when I like find out if somebody's ghosted, or I knew somebody was ghosted. When I first got in and I heard some of my favorite artists were ghosted, I was like, you're fucking with me. Like that's not true, because there's so many positions that you can contribute to this industry without lying and without like not doing some shit that you're like saying you're doing. And it's like exactly what your girl did. It's like, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to find a reason not just to be a body backstage and not just to be there. Like I want to like play my part. And I always say like if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I would be an artist manager, because I love all the aspects of being a manager. But I love what I'm doing, but there's just so many parts. And it's like there's marketing, there's A&Rs, there's agents, there's management, there's talent buying, there's promoting. There's so many parts that people can play. And that's why I get upset when I see people lose opportunities to people who really don't give a fuck about their craft.
Yeah.
That's what makes me just kind of, and most people I have the discussions with, it's like everyone really sits on the same page, but they know the length at which, I don't know, it's just with like the whole Twitter thing. A lot of people on the back end know, and of course it's the minority versus the majority, but it's the punishment in the back end of exposing someone isn't worth it to your
Nah,
career.
it'll
It's
hurt you
not
more than it hurts them.
correct.
Every time, no
Every
matter what.
time. No
Yeah.
matter what. You're not, we're not here to be justice warriors. We're here to like worry about ourselves. But that doesn't mean that we can't speak on topics that are frustrating or hard to talk about. But it is what it is. It's part of the industry. I mean, but it's also the other side of that is I think a fucked like point of view that we have, especially in our kind of niche genre, is that we're supposed to do everything from like the ground up. Like we're supposed to produce the whole song, take into our mind that it's good enough, then mix and then master it. While you look at pop music, you look at rap music, and you've got 60 fucking names credited on a track, So it's like the best art is going to come from collaboration, but just be honest about who you're collaborating with. Like it's okay. Like it's just not accepted in like, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem widely accepted in our industry. And I hope at some point that starts to change.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't even know to even look at those credits. They'll never even
Yeah.
know that there's that many
Correct.
people writing the song or helping produce it type shit. So yeah, it's all about who knows and who's just kind of just there being a consumer instead of actually like studying what's actually going on, just like you said.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day too, it's like no one really gives a shit. It's just
Yeah.
the producers. It's just the artists who are like salty. And like you have a right to be salty because this shit is hard. Like it's hard
Yeah.
to get something that you're happy with. But the other end of it is, that's why you just keep your circle small and you surround yourself with people who like inspire you and like, challenge you to be better. Like I always want to be like the shittiest person in the room because it's going to make me feel like I have to do better. And that's how you continue to grow and continue to build.
So true.
Got my little dog like biting my arm off. This is Akira. Akira.
Hey, puppy.
she's
No.
she's
I had to
super cute.
I had to kick mine out because he would have definitely been bugging me. He would have been
Oh,
bugging.
really? Okay. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, what happened?
Nah,
Oh,
he's downstairs somewhere.
yeah,
Oh,
no, this is her. She always sits underneath me when I do my podcast. Thank you.
puppy.
And then when it's towards the end of the time, she almost knows and she goes, "Okay, mom, I'm ready to play. This is me."
Yep.
She'll bring her toys and her yarn and she'll just drop it on my lap. And I'm like, "Okay, Akira, I'm like talking to somebody very important. Can you like not? That'd be great." But she's a sweetie. What kind of dog do you have?
He's like a beagle basset bloodhound. Actually, Cash, come here, buddy. He's gonna come upstairs. But he's
Oh,
like
excited.
he's a little mutt. He's a mixed boy, but he's the love of my life. I love this dog so much.
Dogs are so wonderful. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Some people aren't dog people, but I just like, we're alone so much in what we do that it just makes me feel like I'm not alone. It's the best.
I gotta get him up here now.
No, you gotta get him up here. You gotta get him up here.
Hopefully he hears me, but he might be in the basement. I'm not sure, but
Well,
know.
you'll have to send me a picture because I've been doing this on Akira's account. I became a total white girl and made an account for my puppy. And so now when I have podcast guests on that have dogs, I like Photoshop our dogs together in the studio. So
No way.
yes, I did it for company and I did it for someone else. And so you have to send me a picture of your dog. Oh, let me see.
Okay.
Oh, the little tail wag.
Come here, Cash.
Oh, what a cutie.
Hold on, I gotta hit him with the light. Cash,
You gotta
come
hit him. Oh,
here.
hello, my beautiful. Oh,
Oh, he just got up from a nap.
look at Kira.
Oh, she's like, oh, a dog?
She's like, oh, look. If
Aw.
you're a dog lover, you gotta listen or watch the episode. Oh my goodness. The yawns are the cutest when they wake up. No, that mic is not yours. Down. Then
Yeah.
she'll like touch the line and then it like goes over the line and she's like knocking down my studio monitors.
I'll feed you soon, buddy. Go away.
I know. You're like, okay, never mind. That doesn't necessarily work with dogs. They're like, you're paying attention to me. Okay, it's playtime.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I just thank you for coming on today. I guess we'll like leave on that note. For people listening, is there anything they should like? You said this fall you're gonna have a shit ton of drink your water music,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I got a bunch that I'm sitting on that I'm ready to get out. I'm just kind of, planning out the strategic way to do it. I don't want to just kind of drop it. So we'll see what happens. I'm, like I said, I'm in the process of shifting to a new management team, new agency type stuff. So we'll see. Once that all gets finalized, then I'll kind of have like a clearer vision of what's going to be happening. But yes, lots of music, lots of shows coming. We got Imagine. Can't wait for that.
And you're at Imagine. Yep. I know. What day do you play?
I open main stage on Friday. So
hell yeah. All right. I will I'll be there. Me and Kara are gonna go up. So it'll be a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on. Everyone who's listening, please check out Kevin Flum as well as Drink Your Water. Lots of music coming to you soon. You're tuning into the XO podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in today.